The quiet calm of Godstone High Street was shattered in the late hours of Monday, February 17, 2025. A yawning chasm, a gaping maw in the earth, had appeared seemingly out of nowhere. This was no pothole, no minor inconvenience for a road crew to patch up. This was a sinkhole, a monstrous cavity at least 20 meters long, swallowing asphalt, trees, and anything else in its path. The residents of the properties bordering the abyss were awoken by sounds they could hardly comprehend. Some described it as a rushing torrent, others a low rumble that shook their homes. A few living closest to the rapidly expanding hole swore it sounded like the earth itself was screaming. The first calls to emergency services painted a picture of chaos and confusion. Initial reports were patchy, a jumble of panicked voices struggling to articulate the sheer scale of what they were witnessing. As dawn broke over Surrey, the full terrifying reality of the situation came into sharp, horrifying focus. With the rising sun came the chilling realization that this sinkhole posed an immediate threat to life and property. The ground was still unstable, the edges of the chasm prone to further collapse. The emergency services, now out in force, made the difficult but necessary decision to evacuate nearby homes. 30 properties were hastily evacuated, their occupants ushered to safety with little more than the clothes on their backs. The fear was palpable, etched on the faces of those forced to abandon their homes to the mercy of the abyss. Families huddled together, anxieties high as they watched, helpless as the earth continued to crumble around their livelihoods. Tandridge District Council, in conjunction with local authorities, swiftly set up temporary accommodation for the displaced residents. Community centres were transformed into makeshift shelters, offering warmth, food, and a semblance of normalcy in the face of extraordinary circumstances. Insurers were contacted, arrangements made, but for many, the long-term impact of this disaster was a terrifying unknown. As the dust settled and the initial shock began to subside, attention turned to the crucial question: why? What had caused this normally stable corner of Surrey to suddenly open up and swallow a chunk of Godstone High Street? The answer, it seemed, lay buried in the history of the land itself. The affected properties, fairly new constructions, stood on what was once a sand quarry. Locals spoke of a network of subterranean tunnels and caverns honeycombing the earth beneath their homes, remnants of a bygone era when men toiled beneath the surface, extracting the very earth on which these houses now stood precariously. Geologists and engineers descended upon the site, their faces grim as they surveyed the damage. Theories were proffered: heavy rainfall saturating the ground, weakening the already unstable network of tunnels below, perhaps even a leaking water main eroding the sandy soil over time. Whatever the cause, the message was clear. This was not an isolated incident. The very ground beneath Godstone, once thought solid and dependable, had revealed itself to be a potential death trap, riddled with unseen dangers. Section 4. The authorities respond. A community in safe hands. The gravity of the situation was not lost on the authorities. Surrey County Council, swift to recognise the scale of the crisis, declared a major incident. The Surrey Local Resilience Forum, a multi-agency group designed to handle emergencies of this magnitude, took command of the situation. Their message was clear and reassuring. This was a community in crisis, and they would not be abandoned. Resources were mobilised, experts consulted, and a plan of action formulated. The immediate priority was to secure the area, preventing further collapse and ensuring the safety of both residents and rescue workers. But this was more than just a logistical challenge. It was a human tragedy. Families had been displaced, lives turned upside down in a matter of hours. The authorities understood this, and alongside the practicalities of securing the site and investigating the cause, they prioritized the emotional and psychological well-being of those affected. Counseling services were offered, support networks established, and a dedicated helpline set up to answer questions and address concerns. The message was clear. This was a community united in the face of adversity, and together they would overcome this challenge. Section 5. Disrupted lives, utilities and restoration efforts. The sinkhole in Godstone did more than just swallow homes. It severed vital lifelines, cutting off essential utilities. Water mains, gas pipes, electricity cables all lay broken. SES Water quickly assessed the damage and worked tirelessly to restore service. They rerouted supplies, ensuring affected properties regained water within days. Though safe, the water ran discolored, a reminder of the chaos. SES Water assured residents the discoloration posed no health risk. They pledged to compensate residents for the disruption. Section 6. Picking up the pieces, the long road to recovery. As the initial shock subsided, the true scale of the challenge became apparent. The Godstone Sinkhole would take months, perhaps years, to repair. The cost, both financial and emotional, would be immeasurable. Engineers estimated repairs could take up to 6 months. The process would be long and complex. First, the sinkhole would need to be stabilized. Then the painstaking task of filling the chasm could begin. Only once the ground was stable could rebuilding begin. Homes would need to be rebuilt, roads repaired. The Environment Agency conducted thorough checks. Their findings offered hope. No evidence of pollution. The environment had escaped relatively unscathed. The Godstone Sinkhole tested the resilience of a community, but it also revealed its strength and solidarity. Godstone would rebuild, stronger and more united than ever.